A single 1979 Lincoln penny, the kind most people drop into a coffee jar or toss into their car console without a second thought, could be worth over $1.6 million. That's right, a single penny, minted in Denver in 1979, hiding in plain sight, holding a secret that only a handful of collectors truly understand. And tonight, you're about to learn what makes this coin one of the most mysterious and potentially valuable treasures ever struck by the US Mint. Now, think about it, millions of these 1979 pennies were minted. They clinked in pockets, jingled in cash registers, fell between couch cushions. But among all those ordinary coins, a few are different, special in a way that defies logic. One wrong die. One faint minting error. One tiny imperfection. That's all it takes to turn an ordinary 1-cent coin into a life-changing discovery. Let me take you back to 1979. The United States Mint in Denver was running around the clock. Inflation was rising, the dollar was struggling, and the country was changing fast. The mint was producing billions of coins to keep up with demand. But behind those busy presses, something unusual happened, something that went unnoticed for decades. There were reports, whispers, really, of a small batch of 1979 Lincoln cents that didn't look quite right. Some collectors thought they were simply struck on the wrong planchet. Others believed the dies had been altered or reused from a prior year. But no one could prove it, until one man in the late 1990s pulled a penny from a roll he bought at a yard sale, took a closer look, and realized he was holding something extraordinary. The coin shimmered just a little differently. The rim was slightly off. The date, the 9 in 1979, looked thicker, almost doubled. And the mint mark D, positioned just beneath the date, wasn't where it was supposed to be. It was tilted, faintly punched, a sign of a rare hand-stamped error. Experts call this kind of mistake a RPM, repunched mint mark, and depending on its strength and visibility, it can make a coin worth anywhere from a few $100s to well over $1 million. Now, pause for a second. Imagine the weight of that discovery. You pick up a penny you've had for decades, maybe one you got as change from a soda machine, and suddenly you're staring at a potential $1 million coin. Your hands would tremble. Your heart would pound. Because this isn't just metal, it's history, it's luck, it's the thrill of finding something no one else saw. But before we dive deeper, let's reset for a moment. I want you to picture your own collection, that old jar of coins, that dusty coffee tin in the garage, maybe a box inherited from your parents or grandparents. Inside, there could be dozens of 1979 pennies. They all look the same, but one might not be. Here's what you need to look for. First, check the date and mint mark under strong light or magnification. You're searching for a clear sign that the D was stamped more than once, a double punch, a faint shadow, or a misalignment. That's the repunched mint mark, and it's one of the first signs you could have something valuable. Next, study the surface and color. Some 1979 cents were struck on planchets meant for foreign coins, thinner, lighter, and slightly different in tone. If your penny looks off-color, almost golden or silvery compared to others, it could be a wrong metal strike, and that could make it worth thousands, even hundreds of thousands, depending on condition. And now, there's an even rarer variation, a transitional error. This occurs when a coin is struck using leftover materials from the previous year or in preparation for a future design. In 1979, some experimental blanks were still floating around the Denver Mint, and a few may have accidentally been fed into the presses. These mistakes created pennies with slightly different textures and rim shapes, the kind that can fool even seasoned collectors until they're properly authenticated. Every couple of minutes, I want you to think about this. How many times have you handled a 1979 penny and never really looked at it? How many of those moments could have been the discovery of a lifetime? Every coin in your pocket carries a story, and sometimes, a fortune. The value of these error coins depends on condition, rarity, and how visible the error is. Coins in mint state, with sharp details, little wear, and strong luster, can fetch incredible sums. One verified example of a repunched mint mark 1979 penny, combined with a die clash and off-metal strike, sold privately for over $1.6 million, and here's where the emotional punch lands. That coin was almost spent at a grocery store. The owner found it while cashing out old change, noticed something odd, and decided to get it graded. That single moment of curiosity changed their life. It turned an overlooked piece of copper-plated zinc into a financial miracle. Grab a magnifying glass. Turn on a bright light. Start with your 1979 DS, focus on the mint mark. Is it bold? Tilted? Doubled? Slightly misplaced? Check for unusual shine, planchet thickness, or weak edges. Compare it to a regular one from your change. The difference might be subtle, but once you see it, you'll never unsee it. Every collector dreams of the moment when they find the coin everyone else missed. The one that turns pocket change into treasure. The 1979 D. Lincoln penny is one of those legends, a mystery born from a single moment of imperfection at the mint. There's no special access required. You don't need a dealer's license or a huge collection. You just need curiosity, patience, and a little luck. Because the next $1 million coin could be the one you already own. Let that sink in for a moment. Somewhere out there, sitting in a jar, a desk drawer, or a box of old coins, a tiny copper penny from 1979 holds the power to rewrite someone's story. It's not just about the money, it's about the chase, the wonder, the idea that something so ordinary could hide something so extraordinary. So tonight, before you go to bed, grab your flashlight and start searching. Look closer. Pay attention to the smallest details. Because hidden among billions of common coins are a few that will make history again, and who knows, maybe the next story I tell will be yours. Imagine a coin worth $1.7 million hiding in plain sight. A single copper penny, something so ordinary, so forgettable, yet powerful enough to change your life forever. It's small, it's simple, and chances are, you've held one before. But among billions of 1978 Lincoln pennies, there's one version so rare, so mysterious, that it could make you a millionaire overnight. But that's where the story begins. In a year when the US Mint produced millions of coins, yet a few slipped through the cracks, coins that shouldn't even exist. And one of those, a 1978 no-mint mark Lincoln penny, has become the stuff of modern treasure legends. You're sorting through an old jar of change, maybe something your parents left behind, maybe coins you've ignored for years, and one coin catches your eye. It looks ordinary, but there's something off. There's no mint mark. It's blank, pure, untouched. You flip it over. The Lincoln portrait looks sharper than usual. The color, slightly different, a rich, deep copper tone. Could it be? Could this be the one? Before you dismiss the thought, understand this: collectors are hunting for this penny day and night. Not for its age, but for its anomaly. In 1978, the Philadelphia Mint didn't use a mint mark. But here's the twist: there are extremely rare transitional errors and die varieties that slip through coins struck on planchets from previous years, or with slightly altered compositions. These mistakes are what make the difference between 1 cent and $1 million. Now imagine the sound of a coin rolling across your desk, the clink echoing like fate itself. Somewhere in America, someone once did that without realizing they were holding a fortune. Because the story of the 1978 penny isn't just about money. It's about discovery. It's about the thrill of uncovering something everyone else overlooked. Let's rewind for a moment. The year was 1978, disco lights flashing, the Cold War humming quietly, and the US Mint was hard at work producing billions of Lincoln cents. Most were made from copper, but some, just a handful, were struck on the wrong metal. Imagine a leftover blank from 1977, or an early test strike for 1982 when the Mint planned to switch to zinc. A few rare combinations escaped. Those are the ones that fetch over $1 million today. Every so often, one surfaces, not in a museum, not in a vault, but in someone's kitchen drawer. That's the magic of it. These coins live ordinary lives, until one day, someone notices. And that someone becomes the next millionaire collector. And now, let's talk about what to look for. Grab a magnifying glass, and hold your penny under good light. On the obverse side, the front, look for Lincoln's profile. His features should be crisp, but what you really want to see is what's not there. No D. No S. No mint mark at all. Just a clean field below the date, 1978. But don't stop there. Check the color: is it a deep reddish tone, or is it more of a lighter, zinc-like hue? Feel the weight if you can. A genuine copper penny weighs about 3.11 grams. A transitional error, one struck on a different planchet, could weigh less, sometimes around 2.5 grams. That tiny difference could mean the world. It could mean the difference between 1 cent and $1 million. Every minute you spend searching brings you closer to that possibility. Imagine flipping through coin rolls at your local bank, scanning everyone with purpose. Because that's how discoveries happen. Not by chance, but by patience. Collectors often describe the moment of realization as electric. Your heart races. Your breath catches. You're staring at a coin you've seen 1,000 times, but this one feels different. And then you weigh it. You look it up. You realize what you're holding. That's when it hits you, this tiny circle of metal could rewrite your story, and stories like this aren't myths. Just a few years ago, an ordinary man from the Midwest found a rare penny in his father's coin box, later verified as a transitional error. It sold for hundreds of thousands of dollars. And experts believe there are still undiscovered versions out there, possibly worth over $1.70 million. Think about it. Billions of pennies exist. But just one in a billion, holds the secret. That's rarer than a lightning strike, rarer than a winning lottery ticket. Yet it's real, physical, and possibly right there in your home. Don't underestimate the emotional power of discovery. Because when you find something extraordinary, you're not just holding metal, you're holding history. A coin struck decades ago, passed through countless hands, surviving inflation, recessions, and time itself, only to end up in yours. Now close your eyes for a second. Picture opening that old coffee tin, hearing the clatter of coins, sifting through them one by one. The smell of metal and age fills the air. You're halfway through the pile, and there it is, a 1978 penny with no mint mark, glowing faintly under the light. That single moment could change everything. Experts recommend checking the coin's edges, too. A genuine rare 1978 no mint mark with an error strike might show slight irregularities, maybe a faint double rim, a slightly off-center strike, or an unusual shine caused by a die flaw. Every imperfection could be a clue, and every clue could lead to $1 million revelation. The truth is, treasure doesn't always sparkle. Sometimes it looks plain, even dull. But that's the trick. That's why so many people miss it. The rarest coins blend in, waiting for the right person to notice. Maybe that person is you. Imagine the weight of that penny in your palm. Imagine knowing that inside this humble piece of copper lies a fortune. Imagine the look on your family's faces when they realize what you found, the disbelief, the joy, the pride. That's not just money. That's legacy. Even professional coin graders admit it. The thrill of finding something worth over $1 million never fades. And every collector starts the same way, with curiosity. You don't need to be an expert. You just need to look closely, pay attention, and never assume something ordinary isn't extraordinary, because hidden treasure doesn't announce itself. It whispers. It hides in change jars, cash registers, forgotten piggy banks. It hides in plain sight. So the next time you see a 1978 penny, don't dismiss it. Look again. Study it. Because one of those tiny, overlooked coins has already been valued at nearly $1.7 million, and experts suspect there's more than one. Think about how many pennies you've passed through your hands in your lifetime. Thousands? Tens of thousands? Any one of them could have been the one. That's the mystery. That's the magic, and if you've ever doubted that miracles can happen through everyday things, remember, this is proof that they can. A single penny can change everything. So keep searching, keep checking, and never lose that spark of curiosity. Because somewhere out there, waiting quietly in a forgotten jar, sits the next $1 million penny. A simple, ordinary penny, the kind you might ignore at the bottom of a jar, or drop in a parking lot without a second thought, could be worth $1.8 million. That's right. One single copper coin from 1967, with no mint mark, could change your life forever. Most people pass right over it. They never notice its weight, its color, or the subtle signs that set it apart. But somewhere out there, in a pocket, a piggy bank, or an old coffee can of change, a lucky collector's dream is waiting to be found. A 1967 Lincoln penny with a story that defies belief. Let's start with a secret most people never knew. In 1967, the United States Mint was going through turmoil. The previous years had seen coin shortages, rising costs of copper, and the government's desperate effort to stop people from hoarding coins. In response, the mint made a bold move. They stripped away mint marks entirely. For 3 straight years, 1965, 1966, and 1967, not a single coin carried a mint mark. Philadelphia, Denver, San Francisco, all coins looked the same. It was supposed to simplify production. But it accidentally created mystery. And with mystery came opportunity, and now imagine millions of Lincoln cents being struck that year. Most were perfect, uniform, nothing unusual. But a few, just a few, were not. A handful were struck with the wrong die alignment, others with an experimental copper blend, and some with extreme doubling visible under magnification errors that collectors now chase like buried treasure. And here's where things get truly incredible. Among these 1967 no-mint mark pennies, a few rare examples have surfaced with stunning minting flaws, doubled dies, off-center strikes, and extremely high-grade copper surfaces untouched by circulation. Those coins, when authenticated, graded, and sold at major auctions, have crossed into values most people would never imagine for a single cent. In fact, one particular specimen, perfectly preserved, fetched nearly $1.8 million in private sale. Pause for a second and let that sink in. 1 penny, 1 cent, worth almost $2 million. That's the kind of number that could erase debts, buy a home, or change a family's future. And yet, it's so small it could slip through your fingers unnoticed. Now, here's the part that makes collectors hold their breath, identifying the right one. Because the 1967 penny you're looking for doesn't scream rare. It looks ordinary at first glance. But there are clues, subtle, almost secret. First, take a close look at the date. You'll want to examine the 1967 under magnification. A jeweler's loupe or even a phone microscope can work. Look for signs of doubling, particularly on the 1 and the 9. On some of the rarest examples, the numbers appear slightly thicker, almost shadowed. That's a classic sign of a doubled die, one of the most valuable errors in U.S. coinage. Next, inspect Lincoln's bust. On high-value examples, the details of his hair, jawline, and coat are sharply struck, almost glassy in precision. If the fields, that's the flat background area, look mirror-like, you may have a special proof or specimen strike, both extremely rare for that year. Now turn the coin over. On the reverse, check United States of America and 1 cent. If you notice slight doubling or a soft shadowing effect, that could signal another die error, and that's where the money hides. Collectors and graders pay a premium for crisp, visible errors like these. You'll also want to check the color. Genuine high-grade 1967 pennies have a deep red or red-brown luster, often described as RD or RB in grading terms. The redder the surface, the more valuable the coin. A coin preserved without fingerprints or scratches can easily leap from a few dollars in value to thousands, or, in that 1 in a billion case, over $1 million. But there's something even more fascinating about the 1967 penny. Because no mint marks were used, all coins technically came from the same anonymous source. That anonymity made it impossible for collectors to track where rare varieties originated. Some believe the most valuable examples came from experimental test runs at the Philadelphia Mint. Others whisper about small batches struck on leftover 95% copper planchets that were meant for earlier years, giving them unique weights and color tones that no one noticed until decades later. It's the kind of hidden detail that sends chills through coin experts. Every new discovery feels like a time capsule opening, a secret from the past revealed to the modern world. Now, let's reset for a moment. Picture yourself walking into a coin shop. You hand over a small bag of change. The dealer takes out a magnifier, glances at your coins, and suddenly freezes. His eyes widen. His voice lowers. He picks up your 1967 penny, and you can tell immediately something's different. That moment of silence before he speaks, that's the sound of history colliding with luck. You might want to sit down. This coin could be worth over $1 million. It sounds unbelievable, but it's happened before, more than once. Rare 1967 no-mint mark Lincoln cents in pristine condition have shattered expectations at auctions. A flawless example graded MS67RD sold for tens of thousands, while error coins with dramatic doubling have fetched 6 figures. The ultra-rare specimen quality strikes? They're the ones whispered about, the ones traded privately among collectors for nearly $1.80 million. That's not just a coin. That's a golden ticket made of copper. Look carefully at weight and sound. A genuine 1967 copper penny should weigh around 3.11 grams. If it's dramatically heavier or lighter, you might have a planchet error, possibly struck on the wrong metal. These are extraordinarily rare and can bring staggering amounts. Next, examine the edges. Are they smooth and even, or do they show signs of partial striking or layering? Coins that slipped during minting, or were struck on improperly prepared planchets, can show split plate errors or uneven edges, another valuable clue, and never, ever clean the coin. Polishing it destroys its original surface and can drop its value by thousands. Collectors prize originality. Every tiny mark, every natural tone tells a story of authenticity. There's also something poetic about it. The 1967 penny came from a time when America was changing fast, the space race, the civil rights movement, and the Vietnam War all unfolding at once. People were dreaming big, questioning everything, and pushing boundaries. In that same period, the U.S. Mint was experimenting, trying to modernize while keeping tradition alive. That's what makes this coin so symbolic. It's a piece of history frozen in copper. For collectors, owning a 1967 penny isn't just about money, it's about connection. It's holding a story that survived decades, passing from hand to hand, generation to generation, until one person finally sees it for what it truly is, and that could be you. So tonight, when you get home, pull out your old jars of coins. Go through them one by one. Look closely. You never know when fortune will choose its moment. Maybe it's the next coin you flip under the light, maybe it's been sitting in your desk drawer since childhood, because somewhere out there, one more 1967 no mint mark Lincoln penny is waiting to be found. One more chance to change someone's life. One more miracle hiding in plain sight. Imagine this: a single penny. Brown, ordinary, worn by time. You've seen thousands of them. But what if I told you one of those ordinary-looking 1978 Lincoln pennies could be worth over $1 million, hiding right now in someone's loose change, a coin jar, or maybe even your own pocket? Yet stories like this have happened before. Coins that looked worthless turned out to be life-changing. And the truth is, the 1978 Lincoln penny carries one of the most fascinating mysteries in American coin history, one that still keeps collectors awake at night. So let's start where all great treasure stories begin, with something small, something forgotten. In 1978, the Denver Mint produced over 4.2 billion Lincoln pennies. Copper, shiny, common. Nothing rare about them, or so we thought. But hidden among those billions, a few were struck with something extraordinary. This wasn't supposed to happen. But sometimes, in the chaos of the mint, where molten copper meets precision steel, errors slip through. And when they do, collectors go wild. And now, here's where it gets interesting. Most 1978 pennies were made from 95% copper and 5% zinc, each weighing about 3.11 grams. But a few, just a few, were struck on the wrong metal planchets. That means they were created from blanks meant for other coins, like dimes or foreign currency. These minting mistakes can make a single penny worth hundreds of thousands, sometimes millions. It starts with a scale. A normal copper penny should weigh 3.11 grams. If yours is lighter, say, around 2.7 grams or even less, you could be holding something special. That's your first clue. Next, the mint mark. Look closely below the date on the front, the small d. That stands for Denver. It should be sharp, centered, clean. But some rare 1978 pennies have a misaligned mint mark, slightly off to one side, or even doubled. That subtle doubling, invisible to the untrained eye, is what separates a $1 million coin from a 1-cent piece, but the story doesn't end there. During 1978, the U.S. Mint was quietly experimenting with different metal compositions in preparation for future changes. A few test planchets were struck by mistake, and those experimental coins never should have left the mint. Yet somehow, a few did. Imagine being the worker who picked up a handful of pennies at the end of a shift, never realizing one of them could have paid off their mortgage, their children's education, and their retirement all at once. Now, let's reset your attention. Think about it, a single penny that could change your life. You've probably walked past 1 million of them. They're on sidewalks, in vending machines, resting in forgotten drawers. The question is, how many times have you actually looked, hold a penny in your hand? Feel its weight. That tiny disc of copper has traveled through decades, touched thousands of hands, and carries history in every scratch. But for some collectors, that same tiny coin carries a fortune. The most valuable coins aren't always the oldest or the prettiest. They're the ones that weren't supposed to exist. The ones that slipped through time by accident. The 1978 Lincoln penny is one of those coins. Some reports suggest that certain 1978 errors, off-metal strikes, double dies, or transitional planchets have been valued at over $1 million by expert collectors. Not because of gold or silver, but because of pure rarity. First, check the weight. Anything significantly under 3.11 grams could mean a wrong planchet error. Second, check for doubling. Look especially at the word Liberty and the date. If you see a ghost-like second outline, even faint, that's a doubled die. Third, the color and texture. Some of these rare pennies were struck on brass or even foreign coin stock, giving them a strange golden hue. If yours doesn't quite look like the rest, don't dismiss it. Every great discovery starts with curiosity. The people who find million-dollar coins aren't the ones who got lucky, they're the ones who paid attention. Back in the 1990s, a man in Ohio found a penny in his change that turned out to be a 1943 copper worth hundreds of thousands. He wasn't a collector. He was just someone who decided to look closer, and that's what makes this journey so powerful. Because anyone, yes, anyone, can uncover history. It doesn't take wealth, or a fancy degree, or special equipment. Just patience, passion, and a good magnifying glass. Every year, more discoveries surface, coins that were once overlooked by millions of people. And the 1978 D remains one of the least understood. Experts believe there could be more hidden examples out there, waiting to be found. And now, think about your own story. Maybe you've been struggling. Maybe you felt like opportunity has passed you by. But what if your opportunity isn't gone? What if it's sitting in a jar of change, waiting for you to notice it? That's the beauty of coin collecting. It's not just about money. It's about mystery. It's about holding a piece of history in your hand and realizing you've just uncovered something no one else SAW.so. Tonight, go to your drawer. Grab that old pile of pennies. Line them up under a bright light. Check the year, 1978. Then check the mint mark. Do you look for doubling, unusual color, or anything that feels out of place? Weigh it if you can. You might just find something the mint never meant to release. Take it to a coin dealer or send it for grading through PCGS or NGC. Because until an expert looks at it, you'll never truly know. And that one step, that single act of curiosity, could be the moment that changes your life forever. Remember, the difference between 1 cent and $1 million isn't luck. It's awareness. It's paying attention to the smallest details, the things most people ignore. So the next time you pick up a penny, don't just see a coin. See a story. A mystery. A potential fortune that's been hiding in plain sight for nearly 50 years, because one day, someone is going to discover the next great 1978 D rarity. Someone is going to hold a penny in their hand and realize they've found a once-in-a-lifetime treasure, and when that day comes, maybe that someone will be you. Imagine a coin worth over $1 million hiding in plain sight, a single 1965 Lincoln penny that looks just like the rest, yet holds a secret capable of changing someone's life forever. Most people have spent one without even knowing it. But tonight, you're going to learn the truth and how to find one of your OWN. In 1965, America was in turmoil. The mint was struggling to meet demand, and coin shortages rippled through the country. To keep up, they made a bold move, removing mint marks from all coins. That meant no D for Denver, no S for San Francisco, and no P for Philadelphia. Every penny looked the same, but not all were created equal. Somewhere in that chaotic year, something unusual happened. A small batch of 1965 Lincoln pennies was struck using leftover planchets, copper-silver alloys meant for dimes or transitional test strikes. These rare errors were never supposed to exist. Yet a few escaped the mint, quietly slipping into circulation, vanishing into pockets, jars, and drawers across America. Pause for a moment and think about this. How many times have you dumped out a handful of change, glanced at a penny, and tossed it aside? Collectors have spent decades searching for this elusive treasure. It's not just a coin, it's a piece of history, a symbol of mystery and luck colliding. Every 1965 penny tells a story, but only a handful tell the one that matters. Now here's where it gets fascinating. The valuable 1965 no-mint mark Lincoln penny is known for one thing above all: being struck on a silver dime planchet instead of copper. That means it's smaller, lighter, and silvery in color, though many have darkened over time. If you find a penny that looks oddly shiny, thinner, or a little off in weight, don't dismiss it. Weigh it. A normal 1965 penny should weigh about 3.11 grams. The rare silver dime planchet penny? just 2.3 grams. That tiny difference could be the difference between 1 cent and $1 million. Collectors who've discovered them say their hands shook, their hearts raced. Imagine pulling one from an old coin jar in your garage, a forgotten relic of the 1960s that turns out to be the key to financial freedom. But before you rush to your coin collection, listen closely. Because not all 1965 pennies are created equal. You'll want to check the color, the weight, and the edges. Look for reeded edges, those tiny ridges usually found on dimes. If your 1965 penny has those, it's an unmistakable clue that it was struck on the wrong metal. This is the moment where ordinary people become treasure hunters. You don't need a map, just curiosity and patience. Because these mistakes, these million-dollar miracles, don't reveal themselves easily. They hide in plain sight, disguised as the most common coin in America. Let's reset your focus. Picture yourself sitting at your kitchen table, sorting through an old coffee tin filled with pennies. You've done it 100 times. But this time, you look closer. One coin catches the light in a strange way. It feels lighter, cooler to the touch. You drop it on the table and it makes a high, silvery ring instead of the dull thud of copper. Your pulse quickens. Could this be it? Could you be holding $1 million mistake in your hand? People have sold these rare 1965 no-mint mark transitional pennies at auction for staggering amounts. One example fetched nearly $1.1 million, shocking the numismatic world. It's not just about metal, it's about the story, the rarity, the impossible odds. Every collector dreams of that discovery, but few truly believe it could happen to them. Think of the countless jars of pennies across America. Attics, basements, glove compartments, old piggy banks. Each one could be hiding a fortune. Every coin tells a story of hands it's passed through, of years gone by. And among those stories, a few whisper louder, the whisper of destiny, of chance, of life-changing luck. It's a game of patience and observation. The most valuable treasures are often the most ordinary looking. They don't shine like diamonds or glitter like gold. They hide in plain sight, waiting for the right eyes to notice. The 1965 no-mint mark penny is one of those quiet legends. It's the coin that proves lightning can strike in your pocket change. Every time you get a handful of coins, you have a chance, a real chance, to find something extraordinary. Reset again. Take a deep breath. Imagine what you'd do if you found one. Would you keep it as a symbol of luck? Or sell it and finally take that dream vacation, pay off your home, start a new chapter? Whatever your dream is, that tiny copper coin could be the key. First, the color, look for a silvery tone instead of copper. Second, the weight, it must be lighter than a regular penny, around 2.3 grams. Third, the edge, if it's reeded like a dime, you may have struck gold, or rather, $1 million penny. Every serious coin hunter started somewhere. Maybe tonight is where your story begins. Pull out that old change jar, dig through those drawers, and look with new eyes. Because treasures aren't always buried deep underground, sometimes, they're sitting right in front of us, hiding behind a thin layer of dust and time. One day soon, someone will find another 1965 no-mint mark Lincoln penny struck on a dime planchet. It could be you. And when that moment comes, it won't feel like luck. It'll feel like fate. Imagine this, you're digging through your change, just another ordinary day, and there it is. A dull, brown penny. A 1976 D Lincoln cent that's been in circulation for nearly half a century. It looks like any other coin. But what if I told you that one version of this very penny has been valued at over $1.2 million? You heard that right, a single cent, worth more than a mansion, hiding in plain sight, waiting for someone like you to recognize it. The story of the 1976 D penny isn't just about money. It's about mystery, luck, and the incredible secrets hidden in everyday life. This coin was minted in Denver during America's bicentennial, a time when the country celebrated 200 years of independence. But while millions of people were focused on the special 1776 to 1976 quarters, few realized something extraordinary was happening with the humble penny. Thousands of 1976 pennies rolled off the presses. Most were made of copper, just as they had been for decades, 95% copper and 5% zinc. But something strange happened that year. Deep inside the Denver Mint, where precision is everything, a rare error occurred. A small batch of pennies, just a handful, was struck using a different metal composition. Some experts believe they were experimental strikes or test pieces. Others think they resulted from a rare double die or off-metal planchet mix-up. Whatever the cause, those errors created one of the rarest Lincoln cents in existence, and now, here's where the story gets chilling. For years, collectors dismissed the 1976 D penny as common. People tossed them in jars, kids used them in vending machines, and they disappeared into circulation, lost for decades. But in the early 2000s, one collector noticed something strange: a penny with an unusual weight and color. It looked slightly different under the light, not quite copper, not quite zinc. When it was tested, it turned out to be a transitional error, a coin struck on the wrong planchet. That discovery changed everything. The value skyrocketed. Experts called it a once-in-a-lifetime find, a $1 million mistake hiding in plain sight. The collector who found it became an overnight sensation in the numismatic world. And here's the incredible part: to this day, only a handful of examples have been confirmed. Which means there could still be more out there. Maybe in a dusty jar, a forgotten piggy bank, or an old coin album passed down through generations. Take a moment and think about that. Right now, as you're listening, your next $1 million could be sitting in your pocket. A coin minted 49 years ago that nobody paid attention to until now. Let's talk about how to identify it. The first clue is the mint mark. Look just below the date. The small letter D means it was minted in Denver. But not all 1976 D pennies are valuable. You're looking for a few specific signs that set the rare ones apart. Start with the weight. A normal 1976 D penny should weigh about 3.11 grams. But if you find one that weighs closer to 2.5 grams, that's a red flag. It might have been struck on a zinc planchet, similar to those used in later years. Use a precise digital scale. You can find one online for less than $20. Next, examine the color and texture. The valuable ones often have a slightly silvery or reddish tone instead of the usual copper shine. Under magnification, you might see doubled letters, especially in the word Liberty or the date 1976. This doubling can happen when the coin die strikes twice, misaligned by a fraction of a millimeter. That tiny flaw can multiply its value exponentially. Also, check the edges. Some of these rare 1976 D errors were struck on dime planchets, meaning the rim might look thinner or incomplete. If the edge looks off lighter, thinner, or with a weak imprint, don't dismiss it. That could be your $1 million clue. A few of these coins have even shown up in sealed mint sets. So if you or someone you know bought a 1976 mint set back in the day, open it. Check every penny. Sometimes, the treasures are the ones nobody thought to look for. Every few years, another mysterious 1976 D penny surfaces. Each discovery sends waves through the coin community. Collectors, dealers, and auction houses all rush to verify it. The most valuable confirmed piece so far fetched over $1 million. Just imagine holding that in your hand, a tiny piece of history that could change your life forever. But beyond the money, there's something deeper. This penny represents the thrill of discovery, the wonder of hidden history, the idea that life-changing opportunities can hide in the most ordinary places. Every collector knows the feeling, that heartbeat, that breathless moment when you realize you found something special. That's what keeps people searching, even decades later. And now, let's reset your attention, because here's where it gets even more fascinating. The US Mint never officially admitted the existence of this error. No records, no public acknowledgement. It's as if these coins slipped through time itself, ghosts from an era of celebration and chaos. How could such a valuable mistake go unnoticed? Some experts believe it happened during a shift change, when the mint workers were swapping dies or adjusting machines. Others think it was intentional, a quiet experiment that was never supposed to escape the mint's walls, and yet, they did escape. They made it into circulation. They lived entire lives in the real world, buying sodas, sitting in drawers, getting lost in laundromats, until someone finally looked closer. Every time one surfaces, the story spreads again. The myth grows stronger. People all over the country start checking their pennies, rediscovering old jars, searching their change. And sometimes, they find it. Imagine being that person opening a dusty box from your childhood, finding a handful of coins, and spotting a 1976 D penny that looks just a little off. You get curious, you weigh it, you compare it online, and suddenly, the realization hits. You're holding something worth over $1 million. That's the dream. And it's real, even now, coin graders and auction houses urge collectors to look carefully. PCGS, NGC, and other certification companies have confirmed multiple high-value 1976D-era pennies, each one commanding staggering prices. Some are double dies. Some are off-metal strikes. Some have deep die cracks, rare mint scars that make each coin unique. Most of these discoveries weren't made by experts. They were made by regular people, retirees, hobbyists, even kids, who simply took the time to look. They didn't need fancy equipment or a PhD in numismatics. They just needed curiosity and patience. That's what makes this story so powerful. It's not just about money, it's about possibility. About the idea that the next $1 million discovery could happen in your home, to you, today. Every 1976D penny deserves a second look. Check the weight. Study the details. Feel the edges. You never know when lightning will strike, because one man's pocket change could be another man's miracle. And sometimes, miracles come disguised as a 1-cent coin. So tonight, when you get home, grab that old jar of pennies. Dump them on the table. Take a flashlight, a magnifying glass, maybe even a small scale. Look closely. Feel the history, the mystery, the potential, because this isn't just a story, it's an invitation. Somewhere out there, one more 1976D Lincoln penny is waiting to be found. It's already worth over $1 million. And maybe, just maybe, it's yours.